Have you ever heard of light language? Did you know you have a soul language? Learn about these topics and more on this episode of the PEEP podcast. Welcome to the PEEP podcast. I'm your host, Nicole Maroc, and I'm grateful you're here. The two big ideas behind the PEEP podcast are to show that the paranormal is more normal than most people think, and to connect the science to the psi, including ESP, psychokinesis, and intuition. Before we jump into this fascinating interview, I want to give you a quick writing update. I found my cover designer. I also received revisions and recommendations from my developmental editor that I need to review and implement. The book is becoming more real every week, and I'm in the early stages of planning a Kickstarter to launch it this summer. Stay tuned and sign up for my newsletter to keep up with my progress. Now back to the program. If you've been listening for a while, you've heard of Reiki, and you might have noticed a trend, whereas many energy healers start with Reiki and move into other modalities. You might say that Reiki is the gateway to energy healing. It's popular, relatively well recognized, and has been the focus of clinical studies. On this episode, you'll meet a healer who started with yoga and Reiki and moved into a modality I've never heard of, until I met her just this past Sunday at the Balanced Mind, Body, and Energy Fair. Diane Stakoe is an intuitive healing facilitator and spiritual guide who holds a deep passion for helping empower others to holistically heal, transform their lives, and lead from a state of higher consciousness. She specializes in blending and integrating energy healing techniques, science, and spirituality to support and empower the mind, body, and spirit, offering a safe, nurturing space for you to explore, heal, and awaken your inner power to step into a life of greater peace, fulfillment, and leadership. Let's dive in with Diane. Hi, Diane. How are you doing tonight?
I'm doing great, Nicole. Thank you. I hope
You're
you are
welcome.
too.
I am. I'm really excited to have you on the show. We're going to be talking about some healing modalities that I am not very familiar with, and typically if I'm not familiar with them, I assume that a lot of my listeners aren't either. Um, and if they are, they can email me and tell me that they are and what experiences they've had. I'm totally fine with that. So before we get into those healing modalities, I want to ask, what led you to become an energy healer?
That's a great question. I it's not something that I sought out to become. I knew that probably from the time I had a major health crisis in my early 30s, and recovering from that health crisis, I kind of knew that I was meant to be a healer in some way, but I didn't really know what that meant. Um, During that crisis, I had learned yoga, or I had started practicing yoga when I was in college. And so it had been about 10 years. And so yoga was kind of my intro to maybe more holistic, energetic practices. Not that I was calling it an energy practice then, but yoga really helped me to recover from, I was diagnosed with Lyme's disease. Um, and so I was drawn to more modalities. I would go to these yoga classes, and there would be touch at the end of the class. If you've ever been in a yoga class during Shavasana at the end in corpse pose, the yoga teacher, many of the yoga teachers at the classes I went to, they go around and they give you a little foot massage or a head massage or shoulder press. And I was just like, oh my God, this is heaven. I love this. And I also had chronic back pain when I was younger. And when I went to see a chiropractor in my late 20s, he did mostly massage work with me and he was the one actually that suggested that I incorporate yoga. I had been introduced to it in college, but I kind of was like, I don't know if this is for me. But he really said this would really help your back, and it did. So it was like the combination of my yoga practice and that touch, that healing touch that I was drawn to. And I thought I wanted to become a physical therapist, but I had already had a 4-year degree, and it was like, oh my gosh, that's going to take me part-time because I had 2 little kids at the time, part-time, and I lived in Massachusetts, and it required a doctorate. So I was like, that's going to take me like 12 years. So I went back to school to get my massage therapy license certification. And in massage therapy school, energy healing was a requirement, and you could pick between Reiki or I think it was polarity, maybe. I don't know. It's one you don't really hear of much, but I had never heard of either of them. I had no idea what they were. I flipped a coin, and it was Reiki was the one that I signed up for. And I was very skeptical going into it, just like, what? Okay, this is just weird. I don't understand this. But during my Reiki training back then, this was way back in 2000, and this was 20 years ago, 2005. Some very profound things happened during that training. I was having very vivid dreams, and all these synchronicities were happening that I couldn't explain. And I wasn't really putting it together with the Reiki, but looking back a little bit later, I was like, oh, that was the catalyst. I had always been a spiritual seeker, I guess, very always fascinated with the paranormal. Um, I had some trauma growing up, like many of us did, and I would find refuge going off in nature. And I could, again, looking back, it was like that resonance. It just felt like a warm blanket being wrapped around me. That was my safe space, going out into the woods, or I lived on the coast in New England, or just going to the beach, or being with the rocks, or those were my friends. Those were my safety. And so with Reiki and learning about it, I loved that connection to something outside of ourselves. But that's how I got into energy work. And I very slowly would bring it into my massage therapy practice. Most of my clients were not open to it. If I would start to talk about it, they got a little bit uncomfortable. Wasn't really until the end of my closing down my massage practice in 2019, 2018, at the end of 2018, that I was really just feeling I had gone on to get my Reiki master teacher certification. I was being called to start teaching it and start teaching it online before COVID even happened. And I wasn't calling it Reiki, I was calling it sacred healing touch, I think is or sacred healing energy, I think is what I called it. Sacred healing energy. And my Reiki teacher was like, you're going to do what? You're teaching it online? Are you? It wasn't a thing then. But I was like, yeah, that's what I'm hearing I need to do. And so that's really, since then, I think really since 2019, it's really been this push of this is what you're here to do. You're here to work with energy. You're here to help people heal on a deeper level than just working on their muscles. So
I love
things have
that.
evolved. Things have evolved since then pretty quickly. Yeah.
Yeah, you have a whole lot more than Reiki listed on your website now. I love that you were doing it online before COVID. I took Reiki 1 in 1999, and then I set it aside for a guy. I don't beat myself up for things, but I could.
We do
Um,
what we do, right?
exactly. But in 2022, yes, I was interviewing a Reiki practitioner and it just was reminded how much I loved it. And so I took Reiki too via the internet. Like she did it digitally, and then I did advanced and masterclass and all of that in person. But it just blew my mind that it was even something that you could do digitally. And now that I'm a master, I'm like, oh, it totally makes sense. But the experience was so cool because, I'm during the attunement, I have my eyes closed and she is in a whole different city and I could still feel everything as if she were right there with me.
Mhm.
And it's wild that we can do these things.
It is wild. And my mind is still blown almost daily by by this work.
So, okay, once you started practicing and teaching Reiki, what was your next step? Because you do offer a lot more than, and I don't want to say just Reiki, like downgrading it, but
Yeah.
you offer a lot
Right,
more than that.
right, right. And if you're familiar, if you're listening to this and you're familiar with Reiki, it's taught in a traditional way. And I'm not going to go into the history of Reiki, but I was taught to either hover your hands or lay your hands on certain parts of the body related to energetic centers, which was beautiful. And there's nothing, I mean, Reiki is a beautiful thing, but as we evolve, I mean, I'm taught yoga for many years too, and my yoga teaching style has evolved over the years from the way I learned it, right? We expand and we grow when we're open to guidance, spiritual guidance. And so, um, what did you ask me? How did
Well, what was the
it?
next step after
Oh,
Reiki?
then the
The
next step
next.
after Reiki. Well, as I was, kind of trying around 2018, I was really feeling like stuck. Like I knew I didn't really want to offer massage anymore because there was just this thing deep within me. Like I'm supposed to be doing more. I'm supposed to be doing something more expansive, more deeper work with people. And I didn't really understand what that was. I started working with a spiritual mentor and she was like, well, you're going through a spiritual awakening and your gifts are wanting to come online and um, just trust the process and get quiet. And so I spent a lot of time just going inward, doing my own, I've been doing my own healing work forever, but
Mhm.
there's always more to do. I'd go on these silent retreats by myself and rent a cabin in the woods and just be in the woods, like in the middle of winter. I did that for quite a few years. And just constantly, I just had this desire to learn more about energy work and using my body as almost like a lab to experimenting with different modalities that I'd read about or take a course on here and there. Um, but it was in 2022, so almost 3 years ago, a good friend of mine who lives up in Boston, where I grew up, she called me one day and she's pretty spiritually open. She's like, have you ever heard of light language? And I said, no, what's that? And she's like, well, I had never heard of it either, but I was in this workshop and I met a woman there and we were taking a walk at lunch and I was sharing, my friend had just recently lost her brother. So she was grieving and she was a woman. And my friend said, this woman stopped and she said, I'm feeling really called to speak light language over you if you're open to it. And it's a healing modality. So my friend was all about it. She's like, I don't know what it is, but sure. And she said, Diane, my whole body just started vibrating. She said, I don't know what she was saying. I don't know what was happening. And then it was starting to rotate. And she said, and I just felt so much lighter afterwards. It was incredible. And I was like, oh my gosh, well, I want some of that. What is that? So I did a little Googling after our conversation, and I honestly didn't find that much about it. I think I found a couple videos of some people on YouTube speaking it. And I was just like, oh, that's interesting. That's okay. And I wasn't really moved by it or anything at the time. So I just sort of filed it away. And about 3 weeks later, I was in my own, doing my own like toning meditation. And I could feel in my throat chakra like something else wanted to be expressed. That's the best way that I can say it. And I don't know what I was toning at the time, but say I was toning Om.
Hmm.
I just knew there was more that wanted to come out. And so I started playing around with it. I'm like, this is interesting. This is okay. This is weird. And then I was like, oh my gosh, I think this is that light language thing. So had I not had that conversation with my friend, I probably would have been a little freaked out. But I believe it was my time to be activated. And that was my introduction to being activated to light language, which is the language of the soul. And we all have access, if we're open to it, if we desire it, um, to connect with our soul's expression. And it can be expressed through um, our voice vocally, through movement. I channel it through my voice, through movement of my hands, also known as energy weaving, or rather than static hand positions in Reiki, you are moving energy with your hand and bringing in light codes, so symbols, and also in writing. I channel it through writing too, and it almost looks like hieroglyphics, symbols. But when one is um, uh, looking at it, or I use it in my healing work now. It's bypasses the mind. The mind doesn't understand it, but it speaks on a cellular level. It's accessing and actually up leveling our DNA. It transcends. It's a multidimensional communication that transcends like traditional linguistic boundaries. So it's very expansive.
Now, this came to you very naturally. Have you worked with anybody to understand it more, or did you how did you, or was it just totally intuitive, 100%?
No, I mean, okay, so this is a crazy story.
I like crazy stories.
This is a good story. So back in the 90s, when I was working in corporate, this is before I became a yoga teacher and um, a massage therapist, I had a friend and we got married at the same time. We had babies at the same time. She always thought I was a little weird because I loved yoga and like I ate. I've been a vegan and vegetarian for a long time. The way I ate, she was, Irish Catholic girl, and she would just make fun of me, but in a joking way. And um, when our kid, well, we moved to North Carolina back in 2007, and we kind of lost touch. We exchanged Christmas cards for a
Hmm.
while. We were Facebook friends, but we didn't really keep up with each other. So I I saw, and she left the corporate world. She was raising her kids. She was doing some photography. I saw that she was getting into photography, mostly taking family portraits. And then I would see her posting things on Facebook like she got certified in Reiki. And I was like, what? Karen? Um, and then she would post like she did a shamanic training or something. So I had not talked to her, but I was just like seeing these posts. I'm like, that's crazy. Wow, that's crazy. Well, after I started channeling light language, um, I and I keep getting a message that our internet connection is stable. So I don't know if I'm cutting out or
Yeah,
you're
I'm
cutting
still
out.
hearing
Can you
you.
hear me okay?
Yeah, I'm still hearing you fine. It's funny because the
Okay.
video is freezing, but your audio is continuing, and
Okay.
that's all that matters for this
Okay.
podcast.
Okay.
So,
All right. Well, you're now, but I just wanted to
yeah.
check in on that.
Yeah, it's good.
Um, so after I started channeling, I was like, what is this? I was like, okay, I have to learn more about this. And I found a Facebook group on light language. So I joined it. And one of the first videos I saw was my friend Karen chant speaking light language in this Facebook group from like, okay, this is
Wow.
insane. So we reconnected. She and I actually started a YouTube channel last year, and we have done lots of light language speaking on that platform together. But she's been my mentor. She started speaking channeling it a few years before I did, and she's helped me out a lot. But I have not taken any classes in it. I've just it has taught me, and I feel into when I'm channeling it, the different frequencies, and I play around with it and I bounce things off her. And um, it's still, like I said, I'm learning things all the time about it and more about myself and what it's here to do. And I was very closeted with it for the first few months, and then I heard very loudly, this is not just for you, this is for you to bring into your healing practice. And probably about 2 years ago, it was like, okay, you need to expand with this and start working with groups and bringing it to, I offer workshops in it, teaching people about it, activating people. And I also um, collaborate with sound healers and sound baths, and I'll bring in channeled frequencies for that. So it's evolving. It's still just, yeah.
That's amazing. I love that you and your friend you all were connected like deeper than you realized.
Hmm.
It's just, that's
Oh,
incredible.
completely. Completely. Yes. It was, yeah. Yeah.
So, okay, there's light language, and then I think this is a separate thing. You can totally correct me if I'm wrong. There's soul language. Are those two separate
Yeah.
things?
They are and they're not. So soul language is your own expression of your soul. And I know my soul language. I can start speaking it right now. That's the expression of my soul. It always comes through that way. Light language is beyond that. Um, Light language, and a lot of people who hear it, they say, "Oh, you're speaking in tongues." I don't know a whole lot about speaking in tongues other than what I've kind of researched myself,
Hmm.
which is that speaking in tongues is tied to a religion,
Hmm.
Christianity, and light language is not. Light language is so much more. Light language is the language of light. It's not really a language, it's a frequency. And it's expansive in the way that sometimes I'm channeling other people's soul languages. If I'm working with somebody, I'll pick up their soul language. I can channel, access. I mean, it's just so expansive. Angels, elementals, fairies, trees, flowers, galactic beings, it, sounds come through sometimes. So a lot of times it sounds like a language. Ascended masters come through.
Mhm.
Um, Ancients, I call them the ancients. This very like wise. I call it the ancients because it's a feeling. For me, it's a feeling it's a sound, but it's also a feeling and a knowing
Mhm.
that there's something happening from a past life coming through, or that we're clearing, that we're shifting, that we're releasing. It's just so expansive, and it's new things come through every day. I was working with a client today, and these frequencies were coming through. I'm like, I've never heard this one before. And many times I don't even know what it is, but we're not supposed to know all the time either, because our languages are so boxed in,
Mhm.
right? Whereas light language, it's the language of love, which is the highest frequency. It's the language from source, from God, from the universe, the
Mhm.
creator, the divine. And a lot of people, when they hear it for the first time, may start crying. It's a soul remembrance. Or they say, oh, I spoke that when I was a child. Babies and toddlers speak light language.
Oh, wow.
Or some people say, oh, I speak that to my animals. Um, Animals is another frequency that I can connect with. And why do we do it? Why would we want to do it? It makes us feel better. It changes, again, it's releasing denser energies. It's allowing us to vibrate at a higher level. It's healing multiple layers of baggage that we've carried in this life and into this life from other lives. Um, it's for our self-healing, but it's also to help other people heal too. If you are called, if you are a healer, if you are working with energy, I work with a lot of healers to attune them to and activate their own light language so they can use it in their practice. Um, and it heightens our psychic abilities. My psychic abilities have just expanded so much since I've been channeling. And my work has just become so much more powerful. Sessions are quicker, things are being released more rapidly.
Mhm.
And it's all within us. That's the beautiful thing about it. Like like we have all the, the crystals and the sound instruments and the tarot cards. Like those are all fantastic spiritual divination tools, but we don't need them. Like we have everything we need within us.
Yeah. So when you're teaching it or attuning someone to it, is that like a multi-layered class or is it a one-day thing or how does that work?
It's different for everybody depending on where they're at and how open they are. Um, I also work one-on-one, and my one-on-one sessions, sometimes people start in just like one little 30-minute session that I'm having one-on-one with somebody. Um, I've had a few people continuously come to these 2-hour workshops it's like an intro to light language, but they get activated. And activation is really just being in the presence of it, being exposed to it. When I'm working one-on-one, I will connect in. Sometimes it's their soul language, but sometimes it's not. We'll practice together if they're comfortable doing that. A lot of people aren't. They want to just kind of practice on their own, and I get that. But I hold a safe space, a safe container for people to do that who want to do that.
I have some very skeptical friends that I have regular conversations with, And, I believe that you should always have skeptics around to
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
help you kind of figure things out and work through things on the logical side. And they would probably ask, because I can hear one of them in my head right now asking me, how do you know that when you are doing it, you're not just, imagining it, making it up,
Babbling.
babbling? Yeah. Like,
Because you feel better for one thing. And once you've been it changes your frequency. But I mean, I can, if you want to name something, I will try to connect with the energy of it and bring it in. It's almost like changing a dial on a radio station, like you're tuning in your frequency. When you're babbling, if I were to start babbling, and I don't even know if I can just babble without channeling. I haven't tried that, but da di do da da I a u a I an do I di, like it feels forced, and I feel
yeah,
like I'm thinking about it. I
yeah.
guess that's the difference. Whereas when you're channeling, it's just flowing. It just comes. Um, and
That makes
again, it's a your energy is changing when you do it.
that makes sense to me. I don't know if it would make sense to him, but if he's listening, he'll be thankful that I asked anyway.
Yeah, no, I have been asked that question many times, many times. And my husband, who is not attuned to his soul language, and he was very uncomfortable with it the first time he heard me. He would sometimes just start babbling, like that thing you do, that, he would just start babbling, and I would just roll my eyes. But he's very fascinated with it now. I
Mhm.
don't know that he'll ever be in a place where he would want to be channeling it. We're just on a different journey.
Yeah,
And that's totally fine. Um, but I just, um, and I don't like labels. Like, the more you learn about it, a lot of people know, like, well, what are you channeling? Where is that from? Who is that? What is that? What does it mean? What are you saying? Many times I get translated messages that come through as I'm bringing in a dialect that people can understand. It'll be like choppy, like I'll channel and then I'll say something in English, channel, then it switches to English. And they're messages that they need to hear for their healing and for their soul's growth and evolution. Many people do just channel translated messages. I I can write channel. I can, like, automatic writing
yeah,
um, in English, and I, bring in coding, writing that out to light codes, light language through writing. And it sometimes it look, a lot of people think it looks like scribbling when they see it, but um, and a lot of people say, I did that when I was a kid. Yes, I
hmm
resonate with that. Yeah.
I totally get that. When I was, I guess I was a teenager, you're sitting in class and you're just kind of doodling. And I just kept doodling this one symbol over and over and over. And a few years ago, I realized it was a symbolism for the journey of life. It was like an existing symbol. I was
Wow.
looking for a symbol for
Wow.
something else and I came up on it and I'm like, oh my gosh, I used to draw that all the time. And I'd never seen it
You
before I
didn't know what
started
it
drawing
was.
it. So yeah,
See?
it was a little mind blowing when I had that epiphany. Um, oh, I was gonna ask you, when you are getting information from like an elemental or a fairy, are you looking for that or does it just come through as you're channeling?
It comes through. I mean, I can connect with it if I wanted to right now and bring it in, but when I'm working, the fairies actually come in all the time when I'm working. And their message is to not take life so seriously and to have more fun and to bring more joy into your life and to play more.
I like
Which we
that.
all need, which we all need to hear. Yes. And it's a very uplifting um frequency. Yeah.
That's really cool. Um, yeah, and I'm curious about that because I've had a few uh paranormal investigation experiences where like just intuitively I knew there was a water spirit where I
Hmm.
was.
Hmm.
That was one of the cases, and it would have been interesting to be able to, just kind of tap into that and have a conversation,
Yeah.
find out why they were hanging out there. Were they happy there? Was there something
Hmm.
that the owner of the land needed to know, that sort of thing? But
Hmm.
it was more of, oh, there's a water spirit right there. And then we just kept moving on.
Did you see it or you felt it?
I felt it and I could tell where it
Hmm.
was, but
Okay.
I am working through a block that I've had for a long time. And I, a long time ago, I used to be able to see things and they scared me when I was a kid. And
Hmm.
so I basically, when I started learning how to control everything, I basically made a deal. I don't want to see anything. And so
Hmm.
now if I see like a spirit, it's more of just a shadow, like it's the shape of a person, but I don't see details. And now that I think it could actually be helpful, I'm having to work through all the little barriers I put up there.
Hmm. Hmm.
But
And that's where light language could help you
it's interesting.
break down those barriers. Yeah.
I will keep that in mind. For real, I will keep that in mind.
Yeah.
Okay. So I also wanted to ask about something I saw on your website called the Quantum Soul Shift.
Hmm.
What is
Hmm.
that?
That is the name of one of my offerings, a
Okay.
session. And I bring in, I'm also a certified hypnotherapist, and I I have a lot of tools in my toolbox. I don't just work with light language. I really meet each client where they're at. And with the quantum soul shift, I do use light language. It comes in. We're doing some coaching work. We're doing some breath work. We're doing. I mean, it's really different depending on what somebody's bringing in and what their goals are. But I work with quantum energy. I work in the quantum field, and we are up leveling. Your soul is you are shifting, and you do feel that even in one session. Sometimes it's really profound for people. Sometimes it's a very subtle shift. Sometimes they don't really, things have to integrate more with certain people, and the shift is a little bit more subtle, but there is always a shift because we're working with energy. We're setting the intention to clear, release, heal whatever is ready, and we're trusting something greater than us, right, is
Mhm.
doing the work. I'm just the vessel, and using the tools that I know to use. With that said, many people that I work with coming to work with me have a lot of stuff that they're bringing in, and they might just be getting started into these kind of modalities. I work with a lot of people who have been in therapy for years, and they're just at a place that they want more. Like
Mhm.
therapy has been great for them, um, but it's kind of at a standstill. Um, and I also, the work that we do as energy healers
Mhm.
uh, is not never to replace any medical
Right.
um, interventions, Western medical interventions, but it works beautifully alongside with therapeutic and Western medicine practices. But it's also a great preventative medicine tool. Energy medicine is, which
Mhm.
I say that everything that I do is under the umbrella of energy medicine. Um, but the quantum soul shift, yeah, it is a profound experience for most people as they bring in the light language and but again, those that are really just getting started on the journey or have very specific like habit or behaviors they want to change. I offer healing packages, 2 week, 6 week, and 12 week, where we work really closely together and do a little bit more deeper work. Um, yeah.
So, without giving, personal identifiable details, uh, what, and I did not prepare you for this question, so feel free to just be like, I can't answer that right now. Um, but what was the most dramatic shift that you've seen in somebody you were working with?
Hmm. There's been so many, honestly. There's been so many, and it actually what's coming to me right now to share is one of my, this was way before I started channeling light language. It was right after I was introduced to Reiki. And I think that experience just was like, I just need to do this. This is what I'm here to do. I was volunteering at a uh, Parkinson's group. And it was like for caretakers of people with Parkinson's disease, this place up in Massachusetts. And a woman came in, her husband had Parkinson's, and she came in with a cane. And so I was offering yoga and Reiki at this place. And she was one of my first clients.
Mhm.
And she got on the table and she said to me, whatever you do, don't touch my knees because I have arthritis in my knees and they're really painful. And I said, okay, all right. And so when doing the the positions down the body, when
Yeah,
I'm hovering over, I was, okay, I'm not going to touch her knees, but I'm still going to work on her knees. I'm going to,
right.
elevate my hands, hover my hands over her knees. And at the end of the session, she sits up and she's crying and she looks at me and she says, I told you not to touch my knees, but you touched them. And she said, and they feel so good. And she stood up without her cane. And she was like, I don't even need this. I don't even feel any pain in my knees right now.
Oh my
And
goodness.
she couldn't believe it. She couldn't believe it. And at first I was like, oh gosh, I'm so sorry to touch it. But no, it was like, it was so beautiful. And she could not thank me. She's like, I can't even, words can't even express what I'm feeling right now.
Oh.
And I was like, oh my gosh, wow, okay, this stuff does really work. So, yeah, that she was always one that really stuck out in my mind. But there have been many, many, I worked, uh, and I have to be careful what I say. I don't want to say
Mhm.
names or anything, but
Right.
I was recently presenting in a light language workshop, and there was somebody there who was obviously brand new to all of this, and all of this meaning energetic work. Let alone a friend of hers brought her there, a friend of hers who was a little bit more, in tune with things. But I could just tell right off the bat, this woman she's just not having this. She's looking at me like I have five heads. But it was a small enough group where I could do connect in with each person and channel what I said. I'm just going to connect in with your energy, with your permission, and bring through um, whatever's meant for you to receive in this moment. And it might be your soul language, or it might be something else. We just don't know. And she gave me permission. She, again, she was like very kind of, crossed arms, crossed legs, like, what are
Yeah.
you gonna do to me? Um, and what came through the frequency was angelic. So when I channel angelic, the angelics, it comes through in song. It's so loving. And a lot of people say it sounds like a lullaby. Um, and so that was coming through, and I had my eyes closed, so I wasn't really watching her. But a lot of times I get names drop
Mhm.
in. And so I said, and I'm not going to say the name, but I said, I am hearing the name blank. Does
Mhm.
this mean anything to you? And she immediately said, no, I don't know anybody by that name. And I was like, okay, well, I said, it could be something in your future field. So just beware, like maybe this person's like gonna come in the next few days, or it could be the name of one of your guides. Um, and so that was that. And then after the presentation, I was walking past the restroom and the two of them were coming out, and this woman was crying. And her friend said, can we ask you a question? I said, sure. And she said, her friend started talking, and she said, when you were channeling, when you were speaking that angel stuff, she said, I was thinking right at that time, I was thinking about this girl back in middle school that and I'm not going to say the event,
Yeah.
but it was a traumatic event that happened with her in middle school, and the girl's name was the same name that came in.
Oh,
And she's
wow.
like, could that be the same? Could that be the name? Or could that be the same person that you, because it was the same name? She said, because I was thinking about it right at that moment. I'm like, well, yes.
Yes.
And she said, that's, I just feel, I have felt that with me. This woman was in her 60s. She's like, I have been carrying that with me all these years. I think about it all the time, and I feel like it's like the devil inside of me. Like,
Oh,
and, I just wanted to say, like, let's do this work right now. Let me help you. But she was just so freaked out. Like, it was just
yeah.
so much happening. And I hope that, she will open up to this kind of healing work, because that's a long time to be carrying
Hmm.
something like that. But again, I do work with a lot of people who have been holding on to trauma, whether they know it or not. And so light language is a beautiful modality to heal trauma.
That's a great story. And that's one of the things I tell my emotion code clients is if we are identifying a trapped emotion and I say, does this ring a bell to you? You don't have to tell me what it is, but if it, I mean, whatever the first thing that pops into your mind is probably the thing, and
Right.
that's it's surfacing because it needs to be let go of.
That's right.
And so it's interesting because this is a modality that I don't know anything about, and they all work very similarly. They all come
Hmm.
from source. They are
Yeah,
all, just a way to heal. And it's just, I just think it's so cool that there are so many different ways that we can help people. And I'm always interested in learning more.
absolutely. I know, me too. And I feel like there's so much. And I do love light language because it is available to everybody. You don't have to be a quote unquote, healer to be using it. It is, again, it's the language that is said to be how humanity communicated before the languages that we know today were developed. And there's no um, negativity. There's no lower frequencies in it. It's such a high frequency. Um, and the messages, I will say I never would have imagined that I would be channeling dragon, but
Whoa.
it happened. It happened, and I didn't even know what, I was in my car one day, which is like my safe space to play and channel and bring in whatever. And there was a shift in what I was bringing in, and it was like, oh my gosh, what is this? Because it, I don't want to say it sounded scary, but it was like this very like mother bear, loud and not angry, but just very protective, like um somebody like really telling you if they were speaking in English, like stand up for yourself, don't take that crap, like enough is enough kind of thing. So I recorded myself and I sent it to my friend from back in the 90s, my corporate friend.
Yeah.
And she was like, "Oh, that's your dragon coming through." Why, what? What? Yeah, that's dragon. Okay. But yeah, I can say that I channel dragon.
That's amazing.
It is amazing. It's crazy and amazing, but it's not so crazy because we are so much more than these bodies and these
Mhm.
minds. Yeah,
Yeah. And we're all connected. I mean, when we talk
we
about
are all
doing
connected.
work at the quantum level, that's whether the science is caught up or not, and there are people studying it, energy workers are doing work on such a small scale, like photons. If you talk about bioluminescence at the Rhine Research Center's biolab, or just like trying to explain how Reiki works, there have been clinical studies showing that Reiki works, but they haven't quite figured out exactly how yet.
Mhm.
And so I know a lot of people are like, oh, stay away from using the science words because you can't prove it with science, but it just hasn't caught up yet. And when you think about things going down to the quantum level, we are all connected. I mean,
Mhm.
that's quantum physics. One of the things is spooky action at a distance, like two particles fully separated, far apart, can still be connected and react to each other. And it's just like we're doing it.
Yes. Yes. Yes, mind blowing.
Yeah. Sorry, I get a little excited sometimes.
No. Oh my gosh, me too. I could talk to you all night about this stuff.
But
So
to
fun.
be respectful of time,
Yes.
we'll
Yes.
we may have another conversation in the future. But
I
for
love
now,
that for now.
if there are there any events that you would like to talk about? Because
Sure.
this episode will actually release in 2 days. So
Oh, goodness. Yes, events. Let
yeah.
me just pull up my calendar so I have them right in front of me. So my next event is on April 5th. For those of
Okay.
you who are local, these are all local in-person events right now, the upcoming ones. Um, I'm in North Raleigh. So I'm leading a past life regression journey through time, a group session in a very safe container. I'm also a trauma-informed therapist, so I know how um, to work with people who might be experiencing traumatic events and sometimes past lives. We always hold the intention when I do group past life regression sessions. We're holding the intention of going back to a life with a positive message and not just going into dark places. Um, so that's on April 5th. That's at Energescence Metaphysical Store in North Raleigh, and that's at from 3 to 5 p.m. Saturday, April 5th. I lead a um, uh, monthly healing circle for women. It's called Sacred Healing Circle for Women It's usually the second Thursday of the month, but in April it's the third. So it's April 17th. It's on a Thursday, and that's from 6:30 to 8:30. If you are looking for a spiritual community, and you're a female, this is a beautiful place to come and share. We do some sacred rituals. We just being around like-minded people who have a safe place to talk about their spirituality and their abilities coming online, their psychic expressions. And even if you're brand new to all of this, like, please, I have people that come who have been on this journey for longer than I have, and people who are brand new. So that's on April 17th, and that's at Elevated Energy Healing. And all these events are on my website, on my events page.
Okay.
And then I'm doing a sound bath with a sound bath practitioner. I'm bringing in channeled light language frequencies, and that's on April 12th at 4 o'clock from 4 to 6. And that's also at Elevated Energy Healing. But I'm not holding any light language workshops in April. I just did a couple, but I will be doing some more in May. So if anyone has any questions about light language or my work, you can find my contact information on my website, which is just my name, DianeStakoe.com.
Okay. And I will put the link to your website in the show notes to make it easy for anybody who's listening to get in touch with you.
Beautiful. Thank you so much. This has
Thank you.
been fun.
Yes, thank you so much for coming on. I learned a lot tonight, and I really appreciate it. And I think my listeners will probably feel like they came out with some new knowledge too, and maybe enthusiasm for another healing modality.
Very good. Yeah, I love it.
Awesome. Thanks again to Diane for introducing us to light language, and thank you for listening. If you are interested in sharing your own paranormal experiences, or if you have an idea for an episode topic, please reach out through the contact form at peeppodcast.com. That's PEEP podcast.com. Remember, that stands for People Experiencing Everyday Paranormal. While you're there, subscribe to my newsletter to keep up with the podcast and all my creative and energetic endeavors. I only email it once a month. You'll receive briefs on recent episodes, information on any upcoming appearances, plus some occasional fun extras. If you enjoy the podcast, please give it some rating love on your favorite podcast app, share it with friends, and subscribe so you don't miss an episode. Ratings and reviews and shares help platforms like Apple Podcast and Spotify know it's worthy of surfacing to new listeners. And as we build our audience, we have more chances to hear their paranormal stories. A huge thank you to everyone who's given the show some love. You're helping it grow. No matter how you support the show, listening, telling others about it, or any other way, I absolutely appreciate your being here. Thanks again for listening. Stay safe and be well.